Welcome back to the Angry Man Podcast with Jason and Greg. So, Jay, I believe it was yesterday, last night perhaps, or somewhere in between, where Teofimo Lopez decided to take to his social media account and talk about a number of different topics, one of which included Terence Crawford. Now, I believe Terence Crawford took to his social media account and posted a reply. It wasn't necessarily replying to exactly what Teofimo Lopez said, but I do believe that the post was driven by the statement that Teofimo Lopez made. Excuse me. And Teofimo Lopez made this comment um, in regards to the outcome of a Canelo Alvarez versus Terence Crawford fight. And I thought what he said was interesting. So I definitely want us to get together and talk about it a little bit because I've leaned more towards Teofimo's mode of thinking as it relates to this particular fight. But I'm going to play a clip from Roy Jones because I actually think Roy Jones has it right. I think Roy Jones is somewhere in the middle in terms of his understanding and his theory on how a fight between those two individuals will play out. I'm going to play that in a little bit, but
Yeah,
I'm going to start off by talking about what Teofimo Lopez said, and I want to get your thoughts on it as well. Teofimo basically said that Terence Crawford gets cooked in 8, knocked out in 8 rounds. I've always been under the mindset
interesting.
that I've always been under the mindset that Canelo was too big for Terence Crawford, and the likely result of that fight would be Terence Crawford getting knocked out. Because I looked at a picture of Terence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez earlier today, and although they're the same height, when you look at shoulder size, arm size, Canelo's just bigger. Jay, what's your thoughts on that? And then I want to switch to what Roy Jones had to say.
Terence Crawford deadlifts 500,000 pounds, so I think he'll be okay against Canelo. No, no, I think it's going to be a good fight, as far as skill wise. But to your point, Canelo's he's stocky. He's a stocky dude. They're same height, and that's going to play a difference in this fight. I believe. I think just the strength of Canelo alone will play a difference in that fight from him hitting, but having to exhort those type of punches from a fighter of that caliber would be a difference. But I don't know if Bud gets knocked out like ASAP or anything like that, or just gets punished fully, because Bud is a smart fighter. But it either go a decision because Canelo hasn't knocked someone out in a while, but he has knocked every fighter down in the last 3 or 4 years. I don't think Bud would be an exception to that neither. So it's gonna be I think it'll be a decent fight while it lasts. If it goes the distance, I think it'll just be a standard Canelo win in that way, But if Bud bites down on his mouthpiece and really just started staying there and start fighting, it could get bad for him, I think, in that regard. I don't think he will do that though.
Now, let me ask you a question. How tall is Sugar Ray Leonard?
Sugar Ray was like what, 5'10"?
5'11". How tall was Mike Tyson?
5'10".
I think he was listed at 5'11". What do you think their reaches were?
I think Sugar Ray had a bigger reach.
Sugar Ray reach was 74 inches. Mike Tyson's reach was 71 inches. If you took Sugar Ray Leonard, who was at 168 pounds at one point, he was the super middleweight champion, and moved him up 3 weight classes to heavyweight to fight Mike Tyson in their heyday, who do you think wins? Okay.
Tyson.
Okay. So measure there's weight classes. They do it by weight and not height and reach for a reason. Um Now
Exactly.
I've always felt that, Terence Crawford would have some trouble, but this Roy Jones said something real interesting. I want to pull this up and play it so that the people can hear what Roy said because Roy is actually starting to convince me to move off my stance a little bit because I think he has a real good point here. Let me play it real quick.
Is Canelo Alvarez potentially fighting Terence Crawford in September. That's obviously a massive weight discrepancy. What do you think of that fight and the weight discrepancy between it?
Well, the weight won't be the factor. The factor will be how Canelo chooses to make the fight. If Canelo comes out and does what Canelo should do, Canelo wins the fight. If Canelo comes out and does what he shouldn't do, Crawford wins the fight.
But with Crawford, what are Crawford's keys to victory when you are fighting someone like Canelo, who, albeit maybe not in height, but in stature, is a much bigger man than him?
Control the center of the ring. If Crawford is allowed to control the center, he'll win.
So I thought that was profound by Roy Jones because I think it kind of encapsulates what I have thought about this fight and what Terence Crawford fans think about this fight as well, Jay, and kind of merges them together. And here's why I say that.
Yeah.
The outcome of the fight is purely dependent upon what Canelo does. Meaning, a lot of Terence Crawford fans feel that Terence Crawford has the ability to beat Canelo Alvarez because what Floyd was able to do. But Canelo was widely criticized for not using his size, his advantages to walk Floyd down and really make the fight very physical, right? Um, and I think that's what Roy is talking about. If Canelo just sits out there and tries to box with Terence Crawford and doesn't make it a physical fight because he is the larger man, then yeah, he can lose because Terence Crawford is the more skilled fighter. But if Canelo does what Canelo should do with the skill set and IQ that he has, he's going to win the fight because all he has to do is just continuously walk Terence Crawford down and throw shots. And I know people are going to say, oh, you said that about Errol Spence. Canelo and Errol aren't the same fighters.
They are not the same fighter.
They are not the
Far from
same
it.
fighters. And we just saw Benavidez implement that same high guard against Morrell, catching shots, getting on the inside, and throwing uppercuts and body shots, and it worked because you take away a slick fighter's ability to counterpunch you. Jay, what's your thoughts on that?
No, I mean, I think it's clear as what Canelo really is going to do versus what Bud can do. Bud, like I said before, and we'll say it again, Bud is the more skilled fighter. But Bud is not a 68-pound fighter. He's a 147, 140-pound fighter. We saw how he looked at 154. And he wasn't really shaking too much at 154 against a fighter in Madrimov. Canelo's levels above Madrimov. The way Canelo fights, he's a smart fighter. They keep some Bud fans are saying that Bud's going to knock Canelo out. We haven't seen Canelo actually hurt since he fought Miguel Cotto's brother. So last time we really seen Canelo hurt, really, and that was what, over 10 years ago. So let's be real. But we'll see what he does, see what Bud does. But I think it's really predicated on what Canelo does, and Canelo imposes himself on Bud. It's going to make it be a tough night for Bud. He just can't let Bud just sit there and try to be slick like he did against Madrimov or any other fighter. And Canelo ain't Spence. He has head movement. He counters like crazy out there. He hits hard. Think about Canelo. He don't care where he hits you at, whether it's your shoulder, your hip, your forearms. He's going to break you down in that way. Now, will he knock Bud out? Don't know, because he hasn't had a knockout in a while, but I'm quite sure I can almost bet on he's going to drop him just because he's done that in every fighter. And I'm not saying those other fighters are the caliber of Bud because Berlanga is not on Bud level, of course, but he's bigger than Bud, and he's taking tougher shots from Bud than Bud has in his career.
I think Canelo will be less susceptible to counter punches than Errol Spence. And I think people give Terence Crawford more credit for his defense than he actually should get. His offense is his defense, and he's susceptible to getting hit. You guys let us know what you think in the comment section in regards to this. I thought it was interesting what Teofimo had to say, and what Roy Jones had to say. Let us know what you think. Don't forget to hit like, comment, and subscribe. This is the Angry Man Podcast, L Sports Media, and we are out.